as everyone knows, we're in the relationship business, and it's incredibly important to have certain techniques to build those relationships. And today's guest, John Klotz, is going to teach us all about how to build those relationships and what's really important about active listening. Hi, I'm Chris Reynolds, and I'm on a mission to help independent financial advisors build a better business through a remarkable client experience. In this podcast, you're going to learn how to do that from my conversations with the visionaries, the leaders, the independent advisors who are reshaping the future of the financial advice industry. At the end of each episode, you're going to walk away with an actionable idea that you can take and use right now, and it will help you to build a better business today. This is Turning the Page. So we might all be in the financial advice business, but really we're in the relationship building business. The relationships we build with clients are key to what we do. It's about trust. It's about connection. It's about what we can do with our clients. And the more that you can build on that relationship, the better. And especially this is important in the high net worth space. Okay? Building relationships with the right professionals can help clients in their unique needs, and offering a great client experience helps build out that whole trust factor that they're looking for. And one of our advisors, John Klotz, knows as well. He's built a great relationship, utilizes a lot of our private wealth material. He sort of now is specializing in that high net worth space. And he's done a great job. He's the founder of Northwood Financial. He's based out of Toronto. He's been 30 years in the business. He knows what he's doing. He comes out of the University of Toronto. He's been part of the Financial Planning Association forever, the Financial Planning Standards Council, Advocis. He was Report on Business's 2022 Best in Province Advisor. So he has a lot of accolades, and he is the author of the Redeployment Roadmap, which is a great read. It's a financial planning book designed for those who love their work, but want to continue that work throughout their retirement years. And we'll touch a little bit about that. He's been on CTV, CB24, and he said, of course, in his bio, he's happily married to Karen. He's got 2 kids, Jory and Jeremy. And Jeremy is now working with John in his practice. So, John, it's great to have you on the show.
Chris, thanks so much for having me. You and I have known each other for quite a while. It's a real honor to be here, just talking about, what we do.
Well, you've had quite the career. You've done it all in this particular business. So maybe we'll start there. Tell us your story. How did you get here?
So, I've given that some thought. So I started in 1992 and, I was 29 years old and no youngster and, a degree from the University of Toronto. And no, I didn't really have a financial background training. My father's a surgeon.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a family of sort of doctors and things like that. So, but no real financial planning training. And, I know when I said to them, I'm going into the financial services business, there's sort of this dead pause. You are? Really?
Really?
You are? Oh, great. Don't.
I was hoping for something better.
Yeah. And I remember Project 100, where I joined Sun Life, and they give you this list of the 100 people and that was a very interesting experience in ultimate rejection, finding out what people, because like I said, it wasn't expected. But I have a rule, and I've learned along the way, and one of them is, Chris, don't let others define you. You define you. And I think you can relate to that. I think people will define you. They'll try, but you define you. And so I decided I was going to be the trusted advisor.
Right.
And that's the journey I've been on for 30 plus years. And, being a trusted advisor, what's involved with that? And I believe there's a number of steps involved with that. And one of them is, if you want to be a trusted advisor, you want to educate yourself. So one of the things I embarked upon was the whole studying and becoming a number of designations. And I know when it took me about 5 to 7 years to get all that stuff together. But when that happened, things kind of changed. And if you think about doctors and lawyers and dentists and all those professionals, they all have lots of diplomas and lots of accolades. And so when you walk into their office with him or her, you go, this is a doctor. Now, do I like them? That's
right. Right. That's
Do I
the
like
important
them?
part.
But I didn't. I got past that. Are you a professional? And that's what that was very important to me to do that. And so and that was kind of the process I went through. So things I did to become the trusted advisor, like I constantly trying to improve myself. I meet with people and I critique the meetings and I prospect a lot. I still do that. The other thing that I do is like becoming a subject expert, and that's been one of my things that has been very helpful. And I always say, if you say you're going to do it, do it. And that's a big one. Our clients, they ask all sorts of things from us, and if you don't do it, even if it's a little thing, they remember it, and they'll remind you. You said you were going to do blah blah blah. Oops. So it's really critical in terms of who we are to do that. And the other thing, some of the lessons I learned along the way is know how to win and lose gracefully. And any advisor who says they haven't lost an account, I believe, is misleading, because it's normal. It's normal.
Everybody loses.
Everybody, you get them and you lose them. And that's part of the gig, is to be almost like a politician, like say, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate, you're moving on elsewhere, or you're going to work with somebody else. I believe it's always how you conduct yourself in those situations that really defines you. So one of the questions I was thinking about last night is, how have I progressed? So 1992, I'm sitting with this woman, convincing her to invest $25 a month into a Canadian equity fund. And Chris, I get to, I spent 3 hours with her, and, I had spreadsheets and charts and all that stuff. The poor woman, I think her eyes must have glazed over, and she must have said, oh, I hope he leaves.
I hope he leaves. Hope he doesn't stay here for very much longer.
I will sign anything at this particular moment. So anyway, she signed up $25 a month, and after 3 hours and a follow-up call, blah blah blah, and I looked at my commission, and in those days, Chris, we used to do deferred sales charges, which, as you know, is a part of our history. And so I looked at my commission. I said, I think I made $15 on this over the year. But the interesting thing is, it taught me. I learned more from that, cutting my teeth with her.
Right.
Because what happens, fast forward 20 plus years, I'm spending the same 3 hours, but I'm picking up either a $2 million account or a $15 million account or something like that. And it's in a way, kind of the building blocks.
Right. Yeah. You had to go through that to get here. And that's actually one of my questions. So you've been doing this a while, well over 20 years.
Yeah.
If you had to go back and tell your old self from your new self, what have you learned? What would you tell your old self? What advice would you give that person that now after all these years in the business?
That question really does cause one pause. Like, what would you do differently? And I bet if you ask some of your friends, what do you do differently, you'll get a litany of, I wish I'd done this.
I was going to say quite a lot.
Yeah, I wish I'd married her. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, but whatever. No, actually, for me, I'm very happily married. God bless my wife and my family. Those were great decisions. But I think if I could go back, I want to remind myself of what business we're in. We are in the people business, and the byproduct is money. And I was challenged once. Someone said, I only want to deal with the best. I only want to deal with the best.
Right.
So I think I would answer that person. I would say, well, what is the best? Define, is it the best returns?
Right.
And I don't think it is. I think it's, are you the best listener? Right. Are you the best at helping me achieve my goals? Are you the best in sort of figuring out what really drives me to get where I want to go? Do you understand my needs? Are you the best at listening? And I would say, in that case, maybe I am the best in terms of the best returns. I mean, as you know, if you put together a growth portfolio, they all kind of look and feel very similar. There's subtle differences, but should get you to where you're going. But really what the key here is the planning aspect and the getting to know the people. And I would say, if I was to go back, I would say, let's remind ourselves we're in the relationship business. Let's really get to know people. Let's kind of go, what's really going on? And that's kind of what triggers me. So when I do meetings now, and I remember when I was at Sun Life that, you used to, the whole thing was, you meet a person, you get in front of them and you sell them a policy.
Right.
And
right.
the
that
manager
was all you needed to do.
Yeah. And it was and I don't mean to That was the business. And yet now what happens is we go through a whole process. Like we have a first meeting where we say to the person, absolutely nothing is going to happen here. Like, I mean it. Like, we're going to talk.
Right.
I want to hear what's going on with you. Yeah, I'll explain our process. And if you want, we'll go to the next level and we'll give you homework and blah, blah, blah. And I go, and by the way, this is a major decision to hire us. Like,
right.
Don't make it now. In fact, I don't want you to make it now because you're thinking about me. I'm also thinking about you because, we're on a journey together. And
it's got to be a good fit.
It's got to be a good fit. So I think that I would say to the guy I knew years ago, I would say to start, just take a step back. Let's get to know these people. And then once they agree to kind of start the process, then let's put together a process together as to how we're going to really get to know these people. And we have a whole thing, we have a homework session, and then we actually, and they fill all the stuff out, and they submit it like they're submitting their final exam. I said, no, I'm not your teacher. I want to go over this with you. In fact, I think there's a lot of subtleties in here that if you just look at this on the surface, you're not going to get who you are. And then I like asking disturbing questions. That's one thing I would tell my younger self. Don't be afraid to ask some hard questions. Like, so Tell me, Mr. Smith, what was money like growing up with you? Like, what were your parents like with money?
Right.
And I love hearing that story.
Questions.
Yeah. And it's the kind of, and everyone has a story. One guy said to me, well, my father went bankrupt. And I said, well, what was that like? And he's a multimillionaire. And I said, what was that like? And he proceeds to tell you, I never want that to happen again. Here's what I'm doing. Here's my concerns. If you didn't ask him that, how would you ever know what's underneath this extremely successful human being is someone who's actually quite scared. And
that's a good point.
And that fear anyway, those I would ask more personal questions, and I wouldn't be afraid to kind of really get in there and find out what's going on. And I think a lot of advisors, they just talk about the returns on their portfolio. And come on, guys, get a grip, man, get a grip.
It's an excellent point.
Yeah.
I was taught very early, same sort of thing, is if you're doing more talking than the client, you're doing it wrong. It should be a 90-10, 90% them, 10% you. And that's always been a good sort of gauge when you're having interactions with clients. Who's doing most of the talking, to your point?
I agree. If we're doing it here, people want to talk, and that's one of the things I've also learned is, they want to talk, and they want someone to listen. And by the way, it's about active listening too. So I have the other thing. I have an active regimen. Like I have a schedule every week on. I know exactly what I'm doing for the week.
Right.
And I know like every morning I'm going to hit the gym, and I know you're into that as well, right? Like. I know you. You're not my first rodeo with you, buddy. But yeah, so first thing is I get myself in the zone, and the gym gets me in that. I go every single day, and I'm religious about that. And then because the thing is, if you're really active listening is takes work. Like it's not just, you got to be on the balls of your feet to actively listen. And I believe that's important, is not just, you got to be present, because they're telling you all sorts of stuff, and half of it's body language, which you got to read, and Zoom, it has its challenges. It's great.
At least better than a phone call, but
it's a much better. Yeah. But I can see if I'm watching you right now, and I can see if you're getting bored of listening to me, and so far so good.
So far so good. But I think you make a good point. Like, one of the basics of our business, being in the wealth management business, is know your client, right? That is like the fundamentals. It's right there in securities law. And I'm never sure if people take as much time as they should to really understand what's going on, what really their objectives are, what really, to your point, their fears, what causes that, what interactions they've had with other advisors. So if you have a set process like you do to really uncover that stuff and really spend your time doing that as opposed to selling them something, I think that makes all the difference.
I agree. I by the end of the process, we've had 4 or 5 meetings, and they're just going, just do it. Like,
just take my money.
just like, because we've exhausted it. We know them. We know who they are. we give them advice. And, the other thing that I do, and I'm sure, so half an hour before I always get ready for meetings a couple days in advance. And I have
Right.
I have a great staff, by the way. I have my assistant, Charlene, who basically is my Radar O'Reilly. She's, well, I know I'm dating
Yeah.
myself a little bit, but I'm not with you. And she kind of reads my mind. I said, she goes, complete this form? Yes, I did. And that's part of it, is having a great staff. And I've got Amy, our client services representative. Now I've got number one son kind of chomping at the bit. And so
Coming
it's so
in.
great team. But one thing I do for every meeting, half an hour before, I just stop and I just sit there and start thinking about the client. Like, just
Right.
half an hour, because what you want to do if you're really doing this right, you want to sit in their shoes. You want to go,
Right.
well, what's it like to be him or her? Like, what does it feel like? What are the pressure points? What are the concerns? What are the goals? Such that, because if I just jump into the meeting without that, I'm missing that kind of reflection. And that's what they want from us. They want us to kind of jump in their shoes and go, well, what would you do? Like, if,
Right.
well, all these, and there's so many moving parts in these people's lives. What would you do? And I
Right.
think we should do our best to answer to, anyway, there you go.
Yeah. What would you do if you were me? As you've heard from John, we're in the relationship business. What I'd love to do is talk to you about what you do to enhance your relationships with your clients. I was an advisor for 15 years, and I very much felt I was in the relationship business. So, I have lots of ideas to share. So I'd love to do a virtual coffee. Just go to the show notes, click on the link, and we can set something up. Look forward to chatting with you. Now, one of the things that I've seen in your business, there's sort of this graduation in your business, is moving into what we'll deem as sort of that high net worth market. You're seeing this all over. We talked about it for years, about this big transfer of money that's going to occur. People selling their businesses, selling their houses, coming into inheritances. And looking, these are the sudden money crowd that really needs advice. So now, we've seen sort of that transition in your business to really start working with a lot of these people who have, some serious money that have come into them. What's that been like? And you've had some great success, and I know you utilize, with our private wealth team to help you in that process. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, some of the successes you've had, and where you would utilize them versus where you would step in for the relationship and how that works.
Yeah. So, well, it's a fair question. So I did not seek out high net worth clients. I've evolved into it. And I think that's, everyone who says, I want to go after high net worth, that's kind of a funny statement, because unless you are high net worth, I think you evolve into it. And I think that's something I'm kind of more comfortable talking about. Like, my clients, they started with me, they've grown, they've become wealthier, they've received inheritances, and now they want to talk to me, and it's sort of, over the years, I've earned their trust, or I've earned someone's trust who referred me in there. So it's been an evolution. One of the things that I think defines myself is just treating people with respect. And I that's something I've learned throughout my life, is treat people with respect.
Right.
The process we take our high net worth clients through, it's very similar to what we would take someone who's not high net worth. And that's, we have an initial conversation that's no obligation. We have, we give them homework, we outline our fees, we have a meeting on the homework, we review their homework. We then have a planning meeting, we then have a investment meeting, and then we have an implementation. So like I said, 4 or 5 meetings before anything happens. The role of private wealth, with IPC is, when you get into larger numbers, you recognize that there's other things at play that really should be kind of handed off. The idea that I would know exactly where to place all the assets for a significant portfolio, I would like to pass that off and say, I want my team member to come in. One of the great things about private wealth is someone like Lee Bowes, who gets it. So here's the thing about private wealth. And here's the challenge, and I've experienced this, isn't it? You're sort of saying, "Hey, look, I'm passing off this thing to you. It doesn't mean I'm not important in this role, and I'm not. I'm bringing in my team." And Lee gets that. So he comes in as a resource to me. And I think that's the key, as opposed to sort of, get out of my way. I'm the IPC Private Wealth guy. That was fun dealing with John, but John, get lost. We don't need you anymore. And I've experienced that. And I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Organizations,
and some other organizations have made that very clear. And so what I like about Lee's not predatory. He's a team player. He comes in, he fills in the piece. If there's going to be interaction with the client, we're all involved. What I try and avoid is that he is interacting with the client without me. I think we have to act as a team, and we have to appear, and he and I are on the same page. He gets it. And not everybody can be an IPC Private Wealth. I don't care what designations you have. You have to be kind of a mature person, comfortable in your skin, and saying, I'm going to be a resource to these people. And that's the key, and not kind of, the show stealer, because we advisors, we have egos. Fragile, right? We kind of we were saying, hey, look, I'm here to help. And I get that, and he gets that, and that's why he's so great at it. And so I have nothing but praises. And then the portfolio comes in, and there's lots of moving parts in it. There's parts that I don't have time for. I don't have time to, do tax loss harvesting.
Right.
I don't have time. I don't have time to kind of go, okay, are we going to sell Tesla, or are we going to buy Nvidia, or should we move all the thing to grocery store chains? I come on, that's tough. But anyway, that is a fabulous partnership, and I really value it. I don't need it for all my clients, but when they get to a certain level, I think it becomes more and more important. But it's been a great experience, and I can only say nice things about them. And I think they feel the same way about me. And, it's a good relationship. So that's all I have to say.
No. And I think you described it well, right? You were still the front piece, the centerpiece of the relationship. You're the one who understands. You're the one that's doing the plans, doing the giving the advice,
as a team.
But once you get over a certain amount, $1-2 million of especially money that's outside of RSPs, that's non-registered. That's a specialty. To your point, tax loss harvesting is important. The allocation is important. Somebody keeping an eye on it is important. And as much as we would like to think that we have time to do that,
we don't.
It is a time-consuming activity where at least I would, and I know you would rather spend it, with those relationships and creating real value through the advice. And we've sort of embodied that with how your practice has evolved over the years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I said, if I was just doing portfolio management, really, I should be saying to the client, I really don't have time to talk to you. I need to check what's going on in Japan. Their stock market just opened. And, but as opposed to, hey, this is what's been brought to me. Here's what I think here's what makes sense. Here's what the portfolio managers have said. Here's what we're going to do. I'm part of this team, and you got a whole team looking after you. Because, one of the things with this business is no one looks under the hood, right? It's right. IPC Private Wealth, one line, there it goes. Or you go, well, so what's underneath here? What's going on? And so I really like that. And it's just, that's kind of a great resource for me to have. And then I can really focus on what the client's concerns and goals.
Right. Looking for. Well, this is also one of my questions, there's the expression, the rich are different from you and me. And so in your experience, are they really that different? Like you said, your process isn't that different. Like a lot of people think this is some big spooky thing, but in fact, they're just like everybody else. They want good advice and they want someone they can trust. I don't know what your observations are in that area.
I would agree with that. It's about trust. And I think they're a little bit more standoffish, and because they have something they've built. And I read The Millionaire Next Door. That book changed me. I'm sure you've read it too, right?
I have.
Basically,
I've studied it. Yeah.
Yes, they define millionaires as cheap.
Yeah.
and what they spend money on, the whole story. What they spend money on is educating their kids, and they buy their cars used and all that sort of stuff. So I think that there is a standoffishness, and sometimes it takes a little while to sort of get them to open up. And I think you have to be ready for that. Like, you cold call somebody, that's kind of going to be challenging with them because they've got a zillion people chasing them. But I think it's an evolution. Like I said, I've evolved into this. I understand how they feel, and I'm empathetic. And really what they want to do is they want to find the trusted advisor. They want to find, and that's the secret sauce. Like there's no, everyone's saying, what's the secret sauce? It's being the trusted advisor, making yourself available, listening, active listening, and then digesting and coming back and saying, I thought about you. I really did. I really thought about you, and here's what I think you should do. And here's the ups of this and the downs of this. And here's what, and then going, well, what do you think? What do you think? And let them talk.
Exactly. And then find out and actually do something about it.
Yeah. So I guess they're different. Like I said, it's probably harder to get at them. But like if you're like me, you've evolved with them, and it's not such a big, it's not such a big secret. It's not like, that you kind of know their situation.
And you come in with credibility as well. So
I think so.
You've had that. So what's next? So what's your long-term vision for your business? What's next for you?
Well, I wrote this book, The Retployment Roadmap. I merged the words retirement and employment and called Retployment. And so we Klotzes, we're horrible retirees. I've got 3 older brothers. They're still all at it. My oldest brother's an oncologist, and he doesn't want to quit. And everyone's busy. And so my feeling is I'm big on engagement. I'm really big on, like, to me, a retirement plan where the guy says, I'm going to sit home and get caught up on my soap operas and reading and golf. Shoot me now. It's just not for me. So what I want to do is I want to basically continue to evolve and doing what I think I'm really good at, which is one-on-one, getting people to sort of talk to me and divulge, developing comprehensive kind of planning that is client-centric and not product-centric.
Right.
That's what I want to do. Now, I've got my son, Jeremy, who has joined.
Right.
And what we want to do is we want to grow. We want to grow our business. And I think we can do that. We've hit a milestone in terms of assets, which we're really proud of. And we want to basically continue growing. He's chomping at the bit. And I think he's going to be a great, great advisor. And so that's really exciting. And we've got capacity. And so I see growing the business and kind of being this retirement planning shop.
Right.
And also he'll be better with some of the younger clients. So a lot of my clients are, maybe they want to deal with me because of my age, and maybe some of the younger ones. And what we're finding is they do want to deal with someone about their own age. So a lot of my clients have kids, and I said to one of them, I said, we have a great relationship, but Jeremy would be much better to deal with your son or daughter. He's about their age. He gets what they're dealing with trying to buy a house. So that's what I see. I see sort of this big practice that has multi-prongs and continuing on the retirement planning thing. That's how I see it.
I love it. I think you're going to do it too.
Thanks, buddy.
So now, as you remember in the show, I always have my rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and the first thing that pops in your mind. And the first thing that I ask everyone about is, what are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about relationships. I think they're great. I'm passionate about being one-on-one with people, finding out what's going on and getting to know them. And that's really the business I'm in, is getting to know people and coming up with sort of comprehensive stuff. Outside of that, I love working out. I love being with my family. That is huge for me. Sports, skiing, pickleball. That's where I'm at.
That's where you're at. All right. So now the most memorable client interaction.
Yeah, I would say the one that made the most impact on me was basically this client who came in and said, I have $40,000 in TFSAs. Is this any good? I had inherited this account.
Right.
And I said, well, what do you got? And what are the investments? And it was like a Canadian equity fund. And I said, well, I put on my Chris Reynolds hat. I said, well, what other assets do you have?
Yeah.
Is this a strategic or tactical portfolio? Is it growth or value? That's right out of your pay. But by the way, as you know, there's nothing original It's
Nope,
all
nope.
kind of
I steal it all.
steal it all. I'm teaching Jeremy this. By the way, I hear he has a bunch of my sayings. And one of the things is we say to our clients, somebody's got to know you. So somebody's got to know you.
Someone's got to know
Someone's got to know you. Okay. So yeah. So it's strategic tactical, geography. How much risk is it? So the guy sits there like this. You know that look.
Yep.
I'm not telling you this. So I have another rule. I always follow up. So I followed up 6 months later, wants to buy a TFSA. He said the same thing. Is this investment any good? And I said, well, what else you got? You know, what other assets? It's strategic, tactical, blah, blah, blah. So at this point, he was ready to talk. And it turned out he had 7 different accounts, over $1.5 million of investable assets. And he had no idea. It was all in Canadian equity, right? It was all bank stock. Okay. And so I said to him, I said, look, I've got some advice for you. You buy one more Canadian bank stock, this thing's going to fall on its head. And you're paying the highest fees of anybody I know, especially to me. I said,
right. And to me,
and
yeah.
this, okay. So we took a $1.5 million port in 7 different institutions. We amalgamated. We reduced his risk. We increased his returns. We reduced his fees by about 50 basis points.
Wow.
He didn't think he could retire. We showed him he could retire at some point in 5 years if he kept contributing. They didn't know if they could redo their kitchen or go on a trip. We set it up a financial plan. He was able to deduct his non-registered fees on his open money. He got his pension tax credit, which he had no idea. He hadn't maxed out any TFSAs. And all in all, we created peace.
Right.
Gets one
Happiness
statement.
and peace. Yeah.
He knows where he's at. We meet once a year, maybe once or twice, depending. And he knows exactly where he's at. And I just noticed the temperature came right down. But what he was looking for was the trusted advisor. And so that's an interesting one. I think it's a cool story.
I like that. That's a great story. And it's very illustrative of what you do and how you've done it.
Thank you.
And my last question is, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Don't let others define you.
That is a good piece
I
of advice.
I think that's a great piece of advice. You define you. And yeah, that's a great way. That's a great ending because I believe in that. And I teach that to my kids. I say to them, don't even let me define you. You define you. And the sky's the limit. There you go.
I love it. And I hope everyone takes that piece of advice as well. It's great to have you on the show, John. And in summary, sort of my little rant is, John sort of embodies that advisor who's in it for the right reason, which is for people, for relationships, for creating value in their lives. Like, don't get me wrong. The investment part is important.
Yes.
And it's an aspect of what we do, but it's only one aspect of what we do. And it takes time to get to know people. I love your process. Yeah. It's multiple meetings. I know everybody's in it for sometimes what I call the quick kill, but relationships are built over time and they're built by active listening. They're built by really asking those in-depth questions and not just about the balance sheet. It's about what people really want to accomplish. And I think you've really built a great business, really focused on the right things, which is the client, the experience. And, you mentioned it in your talk, doing what you say you're going to do, which in this day and age is you think it would be common, but it's uncommon. So that's why you built your business. So John, any final words for our audience?
I want to say I feel really great being part of IPC. And I'm not just saying this, it's a family. I've been with you guys for a while. I have lots of great relationships in IPC and I value them. And so no man is an island. I think it's great. And you guys have been great with my son. Bringing on him has been such a joy, and it's great. And we're meeting with John and Lisa today to sort of discuss how this all works. So I thank you. And it's really great to grow together and to make such great relationships, not just with clients, but with, the people I work with. So thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, I certainly appreciate. So John Klotz, thank you very much for being part of the show.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me on Turning the Page. What did you learn from today's episode? If you follow me on LinkedIn, please drop me a comment there. I'd love to chat with you about it over a virtual coffee. Send me a message on LinkedIn, or you can do so at our website. The link's in the show notes. I'm Chris Reynolds, and until next time.